Okay. Are we on? Are we on? Oh, hello. Oh, man. Excuse me. We are late. Are we on? Are we on? Oh, hello. Oh, this is on, so let me turn that off. Excuse me. Kill that. Okay. Hi. Excuse me. Yeah. Hey, guys. What do we got going on here? Okay, nice to see you all. All right, hold on, please. Plugging in. No sound here. The king has returned. Trump, that is. That's good. I like that. Oh, God. Okay. Just a minute. Is he in yet? Oh, I gotta let him in. Hold on. Oh, there he is. Add. Okay, I forgot I had to physically add you.
Woof woof.
Oh,
Out of the
hello,
dog
hello.
pound.
Just a second.
Oh, we're actually live. Well,
Gotta
people
get
get to see
ready.
the backstage
There we go.
preparation. Oh my God, it's the president.
Okay. Yes, the
Welcome,
king is
sirs.
back.
I, for one, agree with everything you have ever said and thought in your entire life, and I welcome your very very sane and stable leadership.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be back after all these years.
Yeah. Well, it's like you were never away, really.
Well, good to see you, Hiko. I can barely see with this on, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna.
Also, it's tap dancing on the microphone, so yeah, you probably
Okay.
will.
Well, good to see you guys. Welcome back, everyone. And I have bad news for you. There's all the liberal tears are dried up now. So I'm sure a lot of people are here to
I
see
have
us.
no fluids left to excrete.
There's actually a physical condition for that.
Yeah.
Though it's a strange name I've never heard of though.
Yeah.
Um, hey
By
guys.
the way, I can't highlight I'm
Yes.
so used to being able to highlight comments and stuff, but I can't do
Uh,
that. So I guess I don't have
oh,
those
all right,
powers.
because it's
It's up
fine.
to you.
I'm in the dog pound. Look, well, point out a comment that you know. Let's go back and say hello to
Oh
everybody.
no, it was
Safety
only that. Well, that's
Sixpence.
what I normally do. So yes, indeed. Who's in
Good to
here? We've
see
got
you.
Salty Sixpence, who's loves you, but this you disagree on. I'm not sure. Live streaming,
Hmm.
YouTube, internet fame. It could be any of the topics given the show, but apparently whatever it is that you were thinking, he disagrees with you, and
He
you should
thinks
just accept it.
78-year-old men should be president. I'm assuming, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Fit Pill Red, multi-streaming to X.
can't
Man,
wait.
we can barely even single stream nowadays.
Yes.
Multi-streaming, that's asking
Can
for
you
too many problems.
stream? Can you stream on X these days? I don't even know.
I think you gotta pay Elon a peanut or something. I think you gotta be a
Yeah.
member or whatever. But
Right.
I think you can do it. And I think StreamYard does do the multi-platform. If you want to,
Yeah.
like,
I didn't know X was an option though. Huh.
I don't know. I don't know. You can definitely do the it definitely works with Kick, if you want to go and alienate people wherever you travel to. You hear that Johnny Somali is being banned from leaving Korea and facing 10 years imprisonment there.
Oh, good for him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
His mom must be proud.
making America proud.
Yeah. Well, that's what everyone's doing. We've got Utopia in the chat. The king has returned. Trump, that
Yes,
is.
Trump that is.
Celebrations. Ooh. Uh,
Reading Nexus
ASDF
by
one.
Noah
Yeah.
Harari does shed light on a lot. Yeah. Nexus. Yeah, Nexus. Noah Harari is very smart. Yes, I was really impressed with his interview on the Daily Show. Do you know him?
I think I've seen. Yeah, the name rings a bell. I probably saw the Daily Show thing.
He has no children, which enables him to meditate like 2 hours a day.
Yeah, that proves he's smart. I'll listen to whatever he said because obviously he's got some things figured out.
Good to see Aaron Tainaka.
Hi Nakamura, let's go, let's go,
Cerberus Tenshi, Utopia, the only kingdom he is king of. If the
let's go,
kingdom
Brandon.
failed businesses, was it six casinos? Yeah. Um, yeah, well, I will be honest,
Mm.
as I always am honest, but
Yeah,
I'll be
you
honest
voted
about
for
something
him,
I'd rather not be honest about. But
go ahead.
and it was that I honestly was disappointed, to say the
You're
least.
disappointed?
I was disappointed that Trump was reelected at first, but I started thinking about it quite a bit. It really has no effect on me at all directly. I haven't lived in America for 33 years.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I hope
By the
more.
way,
Yeah,
just sorry, I have to pause you. I've just noticed the
sure.
comment from Lara that she likes your shirt, and I thought it was a
Oh,
2.5 Oyaji's shirt at first,
oh
and then I
yeah,
realized it's a Breaking Bad shirt. But you
yeah.
know
It's a
what?
Breaking Bad. Yeah, it
That
could be.
really looks like us.
Yeah.
You got the Heisenberg beard and the glasses, and
Right.
I have been working nonstop for 2 days, and so I look
Why
like
are you
Jesse.
working so hard? Can we talk about
Ah,
that or
just
no?
just a thing, just work.
There's a
But
thing going through something.
I look and feel like Jesse. Oh my God, that's us. That's us. That's a great shirt.
There we go. There we go.
Sorry. So
Um,
you were saying
Good to see you.
you
No,
felt disappointed.
I honestly was disappointed at
Uh,
first, but I thought, but I'll tell you how arrogant I was. Okay,
yeah,
this is how arrogant I
your
thought. I
liberal
thought,
Democrat arrogance. I can't wait to hear this.
of course, and that's part of the problem. That's one of the reasons the Democrats lost.
Absolutely.
Um, I thought, okay, Harris is going to win, but I'm not going to rub it in all the Trump supporters' faces.
It was like you're
Which
thinking about how gracious you were going to
I
be as
was
a
going to be
winner.
very
You were already
gracious about it and
planning that.
say,
Yeah,
yes, I was going to
what a great
say,
winner you were about to be.
especially to my sister, who's a big Trump supporter.
Oh, I see.
I wasn't gonna, rub it into her face. I wasn't gonna say anything. I was gonna say, "Oh well, that's it. It's over. I'm glad it's over," which I am glad. I'm glad it's over.
I'm glad. You know what? Whatever the election, the U.S. election campaign, even for us who don't
Hmm.
even like vote or give a shit,
Right.
it's overwhelming for us as well. And it goes on for so long. And honestly, I
Yeah.
do feel that even though the outcome is like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? I
Mm.
am mostly just glad it's over, and I
Right.
don't want to hear about the shit anymore. Even though, of course, we will. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on
Well,
that. It's just
we're
designed to
still gonna
exhaust you.
hear about it for the next 4 years, but
I mean, it never stops, honestly.
yeah,
And then if
yeah.
it goes back again, we still won't hear about it. We stop
And
hearing
if
about it.
Harris had won, we would still be hearing about it for the next
Oh, a
4 years.
million percent. There'd be exactly. No, it's nonstop. It's nonstop. People just
But
forget their history.
Jay
It's wonderful.
Leno. You know who Jay Leno is?
I'm familiar
Okay,
with the
so
Jay Leno. Yes.
he's an old retired late night talk host. He said, "But the democracy won." And, I was thinking about it. Yeah, he's right. I mean, this is what I have to admit,
Hmm.
and not that Trump is a better man or the best choice, but that America chose him.
And you know
That's
what?
all. That's really
And
it.
from my perspective as well, I am going to complain about Democrats a lot here because they drive.
Oh yeah.
Honestly,
Oh, you should.
I can swear. I'm going to swear here. They drive me fucking crazy. Seriously, like they are absolutely their own worst enemies.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and the way that they're so self-righteous, even contradicting each other all the time about different issues, and they've
Mm.
got no self-awareness when they lose of what they or no inability to reflect on what they did wrong. So
I
like,
think this time is maybe different though.
well, yeah, I'm seeing the news today that they're already pointing fingers, all completely giving opposite explanations and all blaming each
Oh,
other. So
they
they're
are
still,
giving up yet. Well, I mean, nobody knows. That's the thing that gets me.
but
Everybody
nobody
thinks they
points a
know
finger
the
at
answer.
themselves. Everyone says I was
Mm.
right and you were wrong internally. Nobody says, "Oh, I was wrong. I misjudged this." That doesn't come out. And yeah, dismissing the whole groups of people are wrong. The whole assumption, for example, there are a lot of things that I noticed in the outcome. Of course, there are things which are like, oh my God, did people really vote for that? But on the other hand,
Mm.
for example, this idea in the primaries, when I remember there was a stage in the primaries where they asked candidates, in the Democrat primaries, are you in favor of open borders? When everyone was like, they wanted to set up the opposite position to
Mm.
deportations, right?
Mm. Mm.
And rather than saying, oh, we just want a normally policed border, all of these candidates trying to appeal to Democrats were saying, oh, we don't think, we think there should be an open border, which is insane, right? Like, you don't
That's
have to
insane.
swing
That's
the other
insane.
way. And there
Yeah.
was an assumption, I think, by a lot of Democrats that because we're in favor of not deporting anybody, that all the Latinos are going to vote for us.
Mm.
And to me, that's exactly like assuming that saying we're not going to police Mario Kart, so all the foreign residents of Japan support us. The people who hate the Mario Kart drivers the most are the foreign residents because
Yeah.
you make us
Yeah.
look bad, right? Like we'll
Yeah.
go up, give us the baseball bats, and we'll take care of the Mario Kart drivers. So
That's true.
the
That's true. I don't think Japanese think it's that bad. I think it's the
And
foreigners.
honestly, I don't even
I
honestly think it's
personally
that
don't.
bad.
I
It's
don't think it's that bad
obnoxious,
either.
and I don't
But
like foreigners making me look bad. That's why I don't like people like me making me look bad. That's why
yeah,
it annoys me. So it's completely foreseeable that people are gonna want to crack down harder on the people that make them look bad. This idea that Americans are gonna vote according to their racial identity group, and that you can take that for granted.
oh yeah, that
There are
was a
so
big
many
mistake.
assumptions embedded in that just drive me crazy on so many levels. And they were all acting surprised that these demographics didn't, everyone voted for Trump, and they were all being taken for granted and completely misread, like across the
Mm,
board. To me, the most interesting result of the whole thing, the way that I'm most sympathetic to Trump and to the results that make sense to me, and remember, it's not just Trump. Republicans are getting the Senate and probably the House as well.
right,
They're getting
right.
everything.
Yeah.
To me, the most telling result
Is
was
it the House
Washington,
too? I
D.C.
know about the Senate, but I don't know about the House.
Yeah. Did you see the result for Washington, D.C.?
Harris won that, did they? Didn't
She
she?
did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know how much she
completely.
won by?
Like 80% or something,
More.
right?
So
90,
in
really?
Washington, D.C., Trump got 6.7% of the vote, and
Wow.
Harris got 93% of the vote. So
Jesus.
for all the lobbyists and all the insiders and all the federal bureaucrats, 93% of them support Harris and only 6 support Trump. And I think that's why the entire rest of America didn't like Harris.
Mm,
It's because she was the insider. She was their person. She couldn't think of a single
right.
thing that Biden did wrong that she would change when she was asked, right?
That was a big mistake when she said that. Yeah.
But that's it. She was
I was
flying the
surprised.
flag of the establishment. And, and frankly, Trump and MAGA are a pro wrestling fan club that took over the Republican golf club, right? I mean, the
Mm,
Republicans, I've got friends who are like institutional Republicans who can't
mm,
stand Trump, but they
mm,
appreciate that he's helped them win.
mm.
But
Oh,
the
okay.
Democrats are still a locked up club, and everyone sees that it's an insider versus an outsider.
Mm,
Even if people reject that perspective, I think that's how a lot of Americans see it, and they're sick of business as usual, and they kicked her out because she's like the ultimate insider. Nothing against her; she seems very smart, extremely qualified, all of that, and I would have voted for her if I had the vote.
mm.
But at the same time, I get that people are just pissed off with not being listened to, as she represents that. To me, that Washington D.C. result, like, kind of flagged exactly her
I never
weakness.
thought of it that way, but yeah,
Yeah.
that is a good point. I was listening to Jon Stewart's podcast about this, and he was talking about
Mm.
post neo the neoliberal economics.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't really know what that was. Did you
It
know what
goes
that
through all
is?
sort of phases, but I know this idea that's right, of free trade with everybody, and no protection, stuff like that, which took hold in the Democrats. And this is where the Democrats and the Republicans were doing the same stuff. It was switching between Bush and
Yeah.
Clinton, and they were doing all the
Right.
same economic
Right.
policies,
Right.
which drove guys like Michael Moore and that crazy, and what Bernie Sanders sort of
But
represents, the opposite.
apparently Biden was doing a great job of rejecting that completely and turning it
Mm.
around. And objectively speaking, this is what I don't understand is that the economy is doing really, really well.
Yeah, better than it's ever been,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
And I
inflation
always thought
sucks,
that,
but
and
by
everyone's
normal
always said
indicators.
it's the economy dummy. You've heard that expression before, right?
Yeah.
It's the economy dummy. If the economy's doing well, whoever's in charge, they're going to be reelected. But it didn't work this time because Americans don't feel like it's doing better.
I
And
also think, honestly, in a way, so that um, there's another thing. When
mhm.
there's a problem with the economy doing well, which is that when there's what do they call it? Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Oh,
which
what's that?
is that if I've got this, if I'm remembering this correctly from my when I was an environmental international politics student, so the ultimate campus liberal, doing a course with hippies. There was this thing which would talk about how when you cannot put food on the table, you don't give a shit about identity politics or about
Mm,
international environmental treaties. You just care about putting food on the table, right? But as you get more comfortable and well off in your life, smaller things that appear smaller or are more
ah,
general and less connected to you
right,
become more important, right?
right.
So there's a thing as well where when everyone's kind of struggling, the economy is the most important thing. But when everyone gets to a certain point of doing okay, they start to worry more about other things. And I think that
Like
actually,
transgenders and
like identity politics, for example,
right.
and like all the BS, which frankly does come out. I mean, horrible stuff comes out of the right, of course, but the stuff that comes out of the left and the lack of self-awareness, at least the right is relatively self-aware of how offensive they're being. Whereas the left doesn't even give you that, right? The left is, assumes you have to accept their opinion that you're an oppressor, as a
Yeah, the
white
right's like, yeah,
male.
so what?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
right's like
But
screw you,
yeah, we don't
whatever.
care. Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think in a way, with the economy doing well, it is the economy stupid. But I also
Mm,
think that other things have kind of almost taken over, in a way, partly because of that. People are thinking about other things. They're thinking about future prospects and
mm.
life opportunities, and it bugs them, when they're being told that they're a bad person because of their identity, which the
Right.
left
Oh
does to
yeah.
a lot of people.
That which is the Democrats do that.
They do that
They're
a lot. I
very
mean,
they're very arrogant that way. Yeah.
and you know what? For me, I'm
And
I'm
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 guilty. I'm
doing
guilty
okay.
about that too.
Well, I'm doing okay in life. So if
Yeah.
someone tells me that as a white cis male that
Hmm.
I have to acknowledge my oppressor identity and be more considerate towards
Mm,
minorities, I'm like,
mm,
I'm doing well in life. I'm fine. Whatever.
mm.
I'll be nice.
Right.
But when you're telling someone who's young and struggling and doesn't have a job and has had a really shitty day that they're an
Right.
oppressor on top of that, of course they're going to say bullshit to that. Like they're not
Right.
going to accept that. So, and I don't know. I think that's happened at a big scale in America, and I think the Democrats have to remember that to win an election, you have to be popular. You have to win the popular vote. Oh yeah,
Mm.
and I was going to say before, I'm glad in a way that when Trump won, that it's unequivocal, right? It was that he
Oh
won
yeah.
the popular vote, and that
Yeah.
there's no debate
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. That's
America
good.
voted for him. There's no one can
Yes.
get out of that.
Yeah.
You own it,
Yes.
Americans. You failed your
No, it's
IQ
true. It's
test
completely
as a
true.
collective whole.
It's go.
So yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the clarity of that. I mean, I don't. We have to deal with it, but that is America, and America can choose its own leaders. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, they definitely have.
They
So
have.
now Trump, who can fix everything, he can stop the war in 24 hours, right?
Gonna
He
happen.
said that. He said that many times. So,
Yep.
let's see. Let's see how that works out.
But you know what? The thing about, again, another thing I'll give to Trump is, when Obama promised, when
Hmm.
Obama was, I remember when Obama was campaigning against Clinton,
Hmm.
and they were both saying that we are going to reverse track on all this free trade that is harming American workers and
Hmm.
jobs, and we're
Hmm.
going to, we're going to prioritize protecting American workers. And when I heard that over here, as someone who wants free trade because it's good
Hmm.
for New Zealand and it's good for Japan, and
Right.
I don't want America to protect itself, I was supporting Clinton because I knew she was lying, and I was worried that Obama might be telling the truth.
Oh.
I didn't have worried, of course. Obama was just as protectionist as was just as free trade as everyone else, and did the same thing that everyone does when they get elected. That is, they start doing what their advisors and lobbyists tell them to do. But with Trump, he is completely he does actually follow through on some of the crazy shit that he says, and I think this is partly again why he's popular, even when he's saying something ridiculous. Like building these concentration camps
Yeah.
under using the law used to intern Japanese.
Yeah.
I
The
believe the
what
guy's going to
200
do
year
it.
100-year-old law or
Yeah,
even longer.
I don't think he's going to turn around and listen to lobbyists after that. The best line Trump ever said in a primary was he said, "I know that all these guys are owned by lobbyists because I used to pay them myself.
Mm.
Lobbyists can't buy me." And you know what? I don't think that's true. He's obviously
Oh, I think
listens to
he's bought.
money, but at the same time, I
Hey,
think
Elon
as
Musk
a
has got the
selling point,
leash now.
of course. Oh, and man,
Mm.
Elon Musk, another guy I wanted to call an idiot, and all of a sudden he looks like a genius all over again. You know, but
Because he
kicking
won.
aside, because he won.
Oh
I
my
mean,
god.
if he hadn't won, and all the government contracts he's working off, but it
Mm.
turns out he's a genius now, which also drives me crazy. But it's true, you know. I don't even know what to think, honestly. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. It's crazy times.
I was upset about it. I'm not upset about it now. But
Mm.
I am tired of hearing about Trump's stupidity. I mean, no matter what he does, even if he succeeds, he's still the way he act. Here's the thing: we
Mm.
when we were raised, when we were children, we were told, do the right thing, be honest, don't lie, be a good
Yep.
person, work hard, and you will succeed, right?
Yep.
And if you don't, you'll be punished, right? But Trump has completely flipped that on its end.
Yeah, it's a
And it,
compelling narrative to people who don't want to try hard.
no, but I can see people in the future saying, "Well, Trump did, Trump doesn't do it. He's a liar. It's definitely
Well, I
not
still
the."
remember, and I talked about this in 2016. I remember when we had Bush, and we were in, America was invading Iraq and everything.
Mm,
And everyone was saying, "Oh my God, my biggest fear is that one day we will look back at this time nostalgically as these were still the good old days." And people would joke about, "What if this is as good as
oh
it gets?"
yeah,
And it's absolutely people are nostalgic for
yeah,
Bush. I
yeah,
mean, Bush was an advocate for allowing seasonal workers to come across the border to help on farms in Texas, and he was the first U.S. president to give presidential addresses in Spanish. Right, like he's all
right.
for that.
That's true.
He was still old fashioned. He had his issues like
And we thought he was the
illegal
worst
invasion of
person in the
Iraq.
world. We thought he was the worst president in the world back then.
Everybody really thought you couldn't get anyone more stupid or more dangerous. And look, another thing, I'll give Trump credit. He didn't invade any countries, and Bush sure as hell did, killed a lot of people, and there was no reason to invade Iraq.
It's hard to say though whether that was just luck or whether he had anything to do with it, or whether other people just thought that Trump was crazy
Well,
and they didn't want to deal with him.
it's just a
Which would,
fact that
yeah.
under he's like the only president under which America didn't start a new war in like 50
Mm,
years, right?
mm,
And you're right, maybe that was luck, but it still is a fact.
right.
Um, the fact that it looks like he wants to end the war in Ukraine by just basically handing Europe over to the to the next Adolf Hitler. I don't think that's a good thing. I think helping a country defend itself is something worth having a war for. I don't believe in being anti-war to the point of not helping people defend themselves.
Right.
But at the same time, he'd still be true to he'd still be consistent to the point. Which again, as a guy who's saying he's going to do something and does it, even if I think it's fucking crazy. I kind
Well,
of respect that.
so let me see, what did Trump do that he promised? What promises that he kept? He lowered taxes for the rich. That's one
Yeah.
promise he made. He moved the Israeli capital
Actually, yeah. I mean,
or the American
his
embassy to
well,
the
his
capital.
son-in-law. What his son-in-law did, everyone joked about. What was his name again? I can't remember his name.
Jared Kushner.
Yeah, he actually got amazing results. It turns out that guy was smart, and he didn't spend a lot of time talking to the press. But he went to the Middle East, and he basically set up what was going to be the recognition of Israel by Saudi Arabia and
Right.
everyone that triggered the Hamas attacks eventually.
Right.
That would have
Right.
happened under Biden, by the way, but that was all done by Kushner. And he
Right.
deserves recognition for that. I thought that was impossible. I thought Trump was talking bullshit that he was going to sort out the Middle East, but he came really closer than anyone's gotten to it. So I mean,
But what are the promises you're talking about? Because he didn't build a wall. Didn't finish
what, like
building.
50 meters? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I mean, ironically, I think the Democrats built more of the wall than he
no,
did.
I think they did. I think they did. And did
Because
you
it
know
was all union.
Obama actually deported more people than Trump did?
And Democrats, they always put more people in jail and deport more people because they feel like they have to prove to Republicans that they're tough. They end up
Yeah.
always being worse.
Hmm.
Um,
No, but
but
what promises were you talking about with Trump? He keeps his promises. You said.
oh, so I mean, okay, when he threatens to cut NATO funding or whatever,
Oh,
when
okay.
he went to
Yeah. Yeah.
Europe and said
Okay.
everybody pay up, and he was right
Right.
about that, by the way.
Mm.
Everyone, Western Europe wasn't spending anything on its militaries, and they were falling apart, and they can't even help out Ukraine now because they're in such a bad state. And he said, "You guys have all got to pay," and history proved that he was right about that.
Hmm.
Like all the sort of threats that he was going to, he cancelled, the um, again, like everybody else, he cancelled the Trans-Pacific trade deals. He pulled out of the climate change thing. He said he was going to pull out of the climate change accords. He did immediately.
Hmm.
He pulled out of the trade deals. Said he only wants to do one-on-one deals with countries he can bully. He did that. And it was all knee-jerk and backward thinking and wrong, but he did it. All the things that he could do like that, he did.
Right.
Even though I disagreed with him, I kind of respected that he was
Those were all
following through
quickly
on
reversed
things.
when Biden came back, though.
Sure. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
Biden, not everything. Biden's recognized on things like the trade deals and so on that he couldn't go back to the TPP because those things
Oh,
made
that's
him
right.
popular.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
And that was
frankly,
actually that was pretty good from
it was
what
good
I hear.
politics because
Yeah.
those things were things that brought Democrat voters across from Biden to Trump. So Biden knew when he went back that he couldn't be seen as lying to those voters again, like Clinton and so on in the past had done. So
Mm.
like I say, to me, what I resent about the left and about the Democrats is it was the right thing to have a big trade deal with Japan and New Zealand and so on. You
Mm,
just have to explain it to people. You have to do the hard work
mm, mm.
of explaining it so that people understand it and
Yeah,
not
people
taking
don't
the easy
understand
way
it.
out. You know, and
Yeah.
Trump took the easy way and he followed through on it, and he didn't let a lobbyist talk him out of it. You know, I kind of respect that, but it's wrong, right? It shows that the other side failed to do their job, which is treat voters like adults and actually just explain stuff and get their endorsement for it. You know, so
Mm.
I think there's hubris on the left, which definitely has gotten
Definitely.
them out.
Yeah, no, definitely the Democrats are really condescending towards everyone. Did you hear about Clinton going to talking to the Arab community and telling them basically to suck it up, and that's what do you expect regarding Israel and Palestine?
Well, you know, the whole Israel Palestine thing was another thing where the Democrats were in an impossible position. You know, Trump again, he handled it better in
Mm.
that Trump said, "We're taking a side. We're going all in with Israel,
Yeah.
and if you don't like it, screw you. We'll probably
Mm.
deport you later."
Mm.
The Democrats, while continuing to give weapons to Israel and continuing America's diplomatic support for Israel, publicly told Israel, "We think you're very naughty," and saying to
Yeah.
Arabs, "Just give us a bit more time, and we're going to start restraining Israel really soon."
Mm.
And telling the Jewish voters that, oh, but don't forget, we're still your party and we're still supporting Israel. So they kind of disappointed everybody,
Yeah. Yeah. They
you
made
know.
nobody happy. Trying to make somebody happy, they make nobody happy. Yeah.
And frankly, their position was they kept, you know, America is even under the Democrats or under the Republicans, they're on Israel's side, and you know they by being ambiguous about that, they lost both sides.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, and they show that America is really controlled by Israel.
well, I don't. That's a minefield. There are minefields we're going to talk about today, and that's one I don't want to get
That's
into.
one. No, I'll be honest. That's one I don't want to talk about either because, yeah, you're just gonna get raped in the comments over that. But the truth is,
Fundamentally, for all the things that Israel does wrong, and
I'm
Israel does a lot of
yeah,
things wrong,
mm,
Hamas didn't have the right to do what it did on October 7, and Israel had a right to fight back against Hamas and try to free its hostages. You know, it's done a whole lot of shitty stuff in the course of that, sure, but
mm,
Israel has a right to exist, and it has a right to, you know, defend itself. I mean, it didn't have a, so, you know, and America is right and shouldn't be embarrassed about backing it, defending itself
right,
on that, which a lot of countries were ambiguous about that because they're afraid of upsetting their minorities who support the violent overthrow and non-existence of Israel, which is
well,
bullshit.
it's a
So
it's a really tricky thing because by any objective measure, 40,000 dead Palestinians does not, I got to get rid of this background. It doesn't compare to how many Israelis died? Less than 2,000,
a thousand, and 200
a thousand or
hostages.
so.
But you know
Yeah,
what? Hamas could end this tomorrow. They just have to let the 200 hostages go. You know, instead they're the ones
mm.
who are keeping it up.
Dragging it
They
out.
should,
That's a good argument. Yeah,
and they
and
should they shouldn't
and
have taken the hostages in the first place. Israel
right,
was not, you know, I mean, there are arguments that Israel was detaining Palestinians and treating them unjustly beforehand, but fundamentally, Israel was not invading and bombing. They're only doing it because of those
there we go.
abductions and so on, and because of Hamas. So
No, that's true. That's a good point.
they can
And
end it
the
any day.
the other thing is, if you think about it from a moral point of view, the Israelis support more. We share more social mores with the Israelis than we do with Palestinians.
Hmm.
Gay marriage is illegal. You get the death penalty for being gay in a lot of those
West Bank, they
Muslim
throw
countries.
LGBTQ people off buildings. You know, it's
Right,
which is ironic when you see in San
right,
Francisco, you know,
yeah,
LGBTQ for Hamas.
yeah,
Are you kidding me? You know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
there's
I
all
don't
of
get
that.
that at all. So
There's all of that. But look,
yeah,
I can acknowledge Israel does lots of shitty things and should be
mm,
condemned for lots of things. But at the same time, that doesn't translate to, you know,
40,000.
or Israel not having the right to do anything or the
Mm,
right to exist. And so many people just start the argument where if you push them, they'll ultimately just say, well, Israel shouldn't exist in the first place, which is the position of Hamas.
mm, mm,
And if that's your
right.
position,
What
then,
what
you
do they
know,
say? To
America
the
is right.
sea? They
River
have
to
some
the sea.
expression to the sea, right?
And people were debating at the start of this that doesn't mean the end of Israel, and of course it does. So I don't know.
No, that's what it means. Yeah,
So I don't think
that's what it
America's
is.
wrong to back Israel, frankly. You know, but the fact that the Democrats did that, they backed Israel, but they were embarrassed about it.
Mm.
Then they lost everybody. They lost the pro-Israeli and the anti-Israeli people all at the same time. And Trump just took a side, and you know, didn't even try for the
But
side
here's a
for
here's a
Israel.
question for you. How many Americans who voted for Trump really cared about that? I don't think that was that big of an
Small
issue.
percentage.
Yeah, a small percentage. Um,
But it
going on
locked in the
to
ones who care, absolutely, and
we
that agreed.
we can debate forever on why this happened,
Yeah.
and I think it's kind of irrelevant. The fact is, Trump is president now, or he's
Mm.
president-elect. He's going to be president. But what's interesting now is how he's going to manage some of the people that he's got working for him. For example, RFK and Elon Musk have traditionally supported
Uh,
climate change,
probably
fighting
an
climate change,
anti-vaxxer.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's
but
funny as
let's
well.
talk about climate change. They both support fighting climate
Deny
change.
climate change. Yeah.
No,
What? They
no,
both support fighting
no.
climate change? Who does?
Yeah, Elon Musk and RFK, environmental. They've always said that they think we have to do something about climate change.
But okay.
But
But again,
but Trump
take
doesn't.
Trump.
So what's
And,
going to
and
happen
and when
there?
I talk about when I respect Trump following through on doing exactly what he says, when he said day one, we're gonna pump more oil and pull out of all our climate change
Right.
obligations,
Right.
uh, 100% did that and shut down, the
Oh,
agency
before, yeah, yeah,
and he'll
yeah,
no reason not to. He's already said, leave the oil to me. Remember he said
yeah.
RFK, you get the health and leave
Yeah,
all
I
the
saw
oil
that.
to
I
me.
saw that. Yeah.
I don't think that's just banter. He's serious. So no, America's 100% going back into no climate change.
Mm. Here's interesting. Yeah, I'll be
Yeah,
shocked if Musk
James
lasts a
Carroll,
year before Trump sacks him. No room for more than one big
three
ego in the
months.
White House. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I'd be surprised too. But we'll see. I think they need each other. They're
yeah,
going to feed. They're both going to parasitically survive. What is that called when the two parasites are sucking on each other? Or there's a
symbiotic, whatever. Or
symbiotic. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we'll
by the
see
way, I
what
see a
happens.
comment below that. The first they need to take out the deep state. Um, this
Oh,
thing, Republicans who believe in the deep state, but they are the deep state
he
half the
might be
time.
joking because I don't think there's a.
Well, yeah, but some people really believe it, and it reminds me of Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about the bloody hurricane, saying we
Oh,
know who
being
caused
controlled.
this.
The Democrats.
Coming back to your thing before,
Yeah.
the Jewish space laser bullshit.
Right.
But
Right.
but again, she is someone with power, talking like someone who believes she doesn't have power because there's a secret government controlling everything. But she's the one in control. She is the deep state.
Hmm.
The fact that people can say that without even any awareness of how stupid and self-contradictory they are. But yeah,
So RFK is going to take care of all health
bears
issues,
in Central
medicines.
Park.
Yeah. No, the first thing he's going to do, seriously,
Yeah,
is going to eliminate fluoride from the water.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's an old
So
debate.
do you have fluoride in New Zealand?
Yes, very much so. So there are
Oh,
some states in Australia that don't have fluoride. I think Queensland doesn't have fluoride. They also don't have
so they
daylight
should,
saving. They're very
they
RFK
should,
Junior friendly.
they're what?
Very
RFK Jr.
they're
So
very RFK Junior friendly.
are there any studies on the benefits of fluoride in Australia?
Yeah, the
In
places that
those,
don't have it
yeah.
have infinitely more cavities, which
Um,
is the main reason that they put it in. Like the dentists lobby
okay.
for it.
So I lived in Japan for about 10 years, and Japan has when I got my first cavity. Before that, living in America, I never had a cavity.
Mm.
Okay. After
Yeah,
10 years here, and I never made the connection. And I'm not
yeah.
saying that, this is corporate anecdotal information, so not really relevant, but I never had a problem.
Mm.
And then I started getting cavities.
Yeah,
And since then, I've lost one, two, three, four, I don't know, maybe seven teeth.
yeah.
Like I mean, it's almost
Makes a
embarrassing.
difference.
Yeah.
Okay, and I hate to show
Hmm.
guilty confession, less so now, but certainly in my teens and 20s, um, I for entertainment, for yucks, I loved reading about conspiracy theories, and I take
Hmm.
pride in knowing them and being able to explain them like
Oh,
a believer really
it's
well.
all in fun, yeah.
Um, and you know what the deal is with fluoride for people like RFK who oppose it. No, I don't think anyone debates that it's good for teeth, and that is
No,
the reason that they put it in the water supply. But you know the reason that people
no. What's the other?
oppose it.
No, I don't know.
Fluoride is a neurotoxin. It's literally a toxin that affects the brain. It kills brain
Hmm.
cells. And there
Okay.
are people who believe that even in the trace amounts that it's in the water supply, intended to only have an effect on teeth, they believe that the drop in IQ in America
Oh, yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I've
over the
heard the
last
drop in IQ
40
thing.
years
Okay. Yeah.
is relating to fluoride in the water. And they believe it's an attempt by the state to control people by lowering their IQs, which
Mm.
honestly, well, given the election results, I mean, maybe that was the fluoride. Have you seen Dr. Strangelove? Like Doctor
Yeah,
Strange, the
of
whole
course.
premise
Yeah.
of Doctor Strangelove, the guy who hijacks the nuclear bomber, he does it. The general who does it, who turns off the transponder on the airplane going out to the water, he talks about it's because he believes in the fluoride conspiracy. Just when fluoridation started in the 1950s,
Oh,
but they
okay.
chose that as the motivation for the rogue bomber in Doctor Strangelove. Sorry for the spoiler,
No,
but
I saw it. I just don't remember. Yeah, it's years ago. So.
yeah, so
Oh.
people believe it makes people stupid. It
Hmm.
kills brain cells. So he wants it
Well, I
out because
never
he
had a
thinks that
cavity until the age of 35 or so,
yeah.
and
So
then
according to
suddenly
him, you would
I
have
got it.
had more cavities but gotten smarter.
Hmm. I would have been smarter and had less teeth. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
but
David
you brush
R.
your teeth with fluoridated
Oh yeah,
toothpaste, so
yeah. Of course. Yeah. But I guess it wasn't enough. I don't know. But
And
of
also,
course,
people don't
it's
drink.
it's
And who?
anecdotal.
And also, who drinks tap water? That's another thing. People don't drink tap water anymore.
In Japan,
Anywhere, everybody drinks bottled water nowadays.
I don't think
Or
so.
they put filters on the water to get to
That's
filter
true.
out lead
Yeah.
and stuff. But also, that is aimed at
Yeah.
getting those sort
Yeah.
of things out.
I don't know about everybody. I know we have it, but I was talking to one of my Japanese friends about it, and he said that's definitely a woman's wife thing. Like most men don't give a shit, but if you're married, your wife will definitely get a filter. Who
Oh
who
yeah.
who?
100%. Yeah, I didn't give a shit until married and we have a filter, but also I totally drink mainly like this now,
Oh really?
and which I
No,
used
I
to think
drink.
was ridiculous when I was
Well,
a kid.
I have a filter and I drink out of that. But yeah, we filter our own
Yeah, you do
water.
saying we drink tap water here in Denmark. I think it's actually right. In New Zealand, I grew up drinking tap water and not caring, but somewhere along the line, I started every drop of water I drink, I pay for it, which is ridiculous because we pay for it. It's free
Mm,
practically out of the tap, but
right.
I drink this. In Tokyo, there is a thing. The water quality in Tokyo was famously bad for a long time. Ishihara actually improved it. But also, Tokyo
Oh
is an
really?
old city with lots of old pipes and buildings
Ishihara,
and
the
stuff
old
as well.
racist guy.
Yeah, the old racist guy. He was a lot of old racist guys, including like Trump. They say we're gonna have the most wonderful water and air and stuff. They say stuff like that. They say I don't give a shit about climate change, but
Mm,
I'm all for Wagnerian,
mm.
green skies and everything. And yeah, no, he was against. He was going to ban trucks from central Tokyo to improve the air quality, and actually did a whole overhaul of the city sewers to improve the
Really?
water quality.
Banning trucks from Central Tokyo? That
The
seems
government
impossible.
vetoed it, but he was going to ban heavy trucks and diesel trucks from central Tokyo. So he was actually, yeah, he's a real greenie. Um, so there's stuff like that, but the water quality is improved in Tokyo.
Mm.
But
So,
fluoridation
for
is a
those
thing.
of you who don't know, Japan has no, they don't put any fluoride into the water. There is some natural fluoride that's in some of the minerals, but it's a minor point. It's a minor amount. I looked
Yeah,
into this. Uh,
all the
I
testing
have
is it
a
has no effect, but it's a conspiracy
yeah,
thing that it is
yeah,
a poison. So
yeah.
and seeing there in the comments, I think a lot of things are about to get wilder than you guys know. Conspiracy theories will take over, and that is my fear. When you have a guy like Robert Kennedy Jr.,
Mm,
who is a guy who advocates so many like Wi-Fi affecting people, and the drinking water making you dumb and all this, and
right,
he believes all the vaccine conspiracies and stuff like that,
right.
and
Yeah,
they're literally going to put him in charge of the FDA. And
yeah.
some
That's
people,
crazy.
I've seen other people say, well, he's also concerned that America's like nutrition guidance hasn't been working. And I think that
Mm,
seems true. All the processed food and all the sugar and all the shit that Americans are eating
mm.
and not getting any help with, and the American health getting worse, it's
There's some
true.
kind of red dye that Americans do have in their food, but it's banned in Europe because it's
It's
poisonous, right?
banned. Yeah, yeah. So there's all
But
sorts of stuff like that. There's room to improve, no question. And
oh
he's saying
yeah,
he wants to
definitely.
improve so that he might do
Right.
some good, but he also is clearly a nut. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so I don't know. It just seems
And I mean, and you know about his affairs?
I mean, I don't even care, but yeah,
Well,
what he has affairs
you know,
with dead animals.
that's a question. I mean, he's cheated on his wife
Yeah.
a few
Well, in
times apparently.
America, in France, you actually require a certain minimum number of
Right.
affairs to actually be qualified to run. I think in America, for some reason, it
But
disqualifies.
I actually didn't care about the cheating so much. But there was one affair he had with it was a sexting affair with a reporter, and they were like sexting
A
and
sexting affair.
sending each other nudes. So I thought this is a 70-year-old guy or so, right? And I felt like it's kind of childish.
Well,
Like what? This is a
that's the
man
problem I
child.
have
This
with
is
it.
a teenager. I mean, come on. I mean, I can understand going out and have sex and doing something, but
But
sexting
sexting, you
and
can't restrict.
getting it's like, dude, you're like a man child, and we're supposed to trust you. You can't even control yourself. No self control. And this is
Well,
an important man. He's busy, right?
well,
You would
yeah.
think. People like,
Well,
I don't know.
like I say, if I have any problem with it, it's not the morality. I don't give a shit about the morality, frankly, but I do give a shit
Mm.
about the judgment that it shows,
Right. Well,
especially if
that's
you
well,
know
yeah,
if you're going for office and you know
yeah.
that this is all going to come out, and you don't care. And there have been so many people like that in those positions. But
Well, I think there's
I'm not
so
I'm not
many
going to get upset
intelligent
with someone
people.
for sex. But I will, yeah, sure. If they're dumb about it, sure. That's dumbness. Dumbness is
Well,
more
if
disqualifying to
I
me
can
than having an
understand an
affair.
affair, but three affairs and a sexting thing, that I mean, that just seems ridiculous to me. It just means you have no self-control
Well,
to me.
certainly, and not having self control isn't. But there again, not having self control just won the Senate and the House and the executive. So
Maybe, yeah.
or maybe America doesn't want to have control.
But it'll be interesting to see what he does to America, to the health there, and what Elon Musk does. What? Let's
Yeah.
talk about Japan. How is this going to affect Japan? Because a couple of
Mm.
my students are afraid that about these tariffs that he's going to impose. They even know what is it called? In Japanese, something kin. They I
Kanze,
forgot the
kanze. It's just kanze.
kanze. Yes, kanze, kanze,
They're gonna
kanze.
put tariffs on things.
Yeah. So even my wife is like worried about it. She thinks it's going to hurt the Japanese economy.
By the way, Yoni says, Victor, you're just jealous. Um, on the
No,
previous
that
point.
no, I'm not jealous because I have a wife and we have a normal, husband and wife relationship, and not
Yeah.
the bad kind. So no,
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
Um, what effect on Japan? I mean, it's gonna, in a way, if there's anything good about it, and again, this is where I believe Trump. I mean, he's already clarified. They asked, "Do you mean even friendly countries like Japan?" He says, "Yeah, it has to be the same for everybody."
Mm.
And I believe he at least plans to do it that simplistically, and it's kind of proof he's not owned by
You
lobbyists
think
because,
he's really going to do that? I don't think so.
well, it's an interesting test because there is not a single lobbyist anywhere in the world. In America, there's no lobby for tariffing everything, right? I mean, I suppose there are for some domestic companies, wanting to compete
Mm.
against imports and stuff like that.
Well,
Okay,
other
maybe there are some.
countries do it. I mean, other countries do it, and
Everyone
it's
does it.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Japan does it. Japan
yeah.
Japan puts tariffs
No,
on
but
all sorts of
some of
products.
them are ridiculous. In Peru, where my
Mm.
family's from, if you want to buy a Mercedes Benz, you have to pay 100%
Yeah,
tariff on it.
Singapore, yeah, they put
So
crazy tariffs.
So
Every
back in
country
the
imposes
day,
tariff.
$30,000 Mercedes Benz is going to cost you $60,000. I mean, that
Yeah,
was a long time ago. But
yeah.
I'm sure they're
But
much more expensive now. But
Japan does that. I mean, try importing rice. Rice gets tons of tariffs coming into Japan, which I've always been critical of, like because
mm,
New Zealand wants to sell lots of fruit and stuff to Japan, and that's why we negotiated these free trade deals.
right.
Um,
So I've already seen
so,
some stories of people saying that their bonuses in the States
hmm,
were canceled because the boss says, we have to buy up all these. The tariffs are coming, so we're going to spend your bonus money on buying all these products that we need for next year. Because
um,
once those tariffs kick in, we're not going to be able to afford it.
that seems like bullshit to me. But okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
on the part of the company using that as an excuse. Um, but
they're
look,
using
I remember when Trump came in the first time, another example of him following through. So he said
mm,
that, and this is really a typical thing that happens in normal times, is they say, we want you to buy American made. So we're gonna punish American companies that manufacture overseas and not in America. And New Balance, the shoemaker,
mhm,
they were lobbying the government for years and being told by the Democrats that they were gonna, increase because Nike was out competing. Nike was making its shoes in Vietnam and Myanmar
mhm,
and
mhm,
Bangladesh, and a lot cheaper, and that was helping
mhm.
them out compete against New Balance, which was insisting on keeping its American jobs. And New Balance was asking for support for that.
All right.
And they were complaining that the Democrats said they were going to do it and they never followed through on it. And Trump
Oh,
followed through on it right away. And the head of New Balance sent a thank you, Trump, for finally doing this and putting tariffs on other companies that manufacture shoes outside of America.
mm.
And all these Democrats lost their minds. They're posting memes of them setting their New Balance shoes on fire for him thanking
Really?
Trump. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Look it
ridiculous.
up. The New
I've always thought
Balance
that
thing.
was ridiculous.
And they're good shoes. And honestly, you
Yeah.
can see on the shoes the ones that are made in USA and not, and they're cheaper, the ones from overseas, but they label them and they're great quality. And I've got a pair. I've got a pair of 574s, and I love them. So it's a thing every country does, right? That they try to protect some jobs in America,
Mm,
that can't
mm,
compete based on wages and whatever. The fact he's doing this for everything, just blanket, that's not happened anywhere before. I think in a
all right.
way, I mean, it's
So
going to hurt Japan and
you
it's going
think
to
he's
hurt
going to
everyone
do it?
else.
Yeah. You think he's going to
I
do
think
a
he's going to
blanket?
try to do it.
Mm,
I think lobbyists in America are going to lose their minds trying to find ways to
trying
get
to
around
stop
it.
him?
Including, and
Mm,
Japan's going to spend tons of money on trying to, you know, find ways to carve itself out. But yeah, I believe. I mean, he's declared it. I think he's going to follow through and try to do it, and he's done things like it. This is the point. Even though I thought those were stupid too, he's done them. So,
What
and
about
how's
this?
it's going to affect us badly in Japan, but at the same time in America. So, okay, I get paid in stock where I work, and I work for a US company. I'm not going to say anything more than that. My
Mhm.
stock shot up the other day. I got a
Oh
huge pay
yeah,
rise after the election result.
yeah. My stocks went up too. My
and
dad
the
also.
and the yen went down, so the value of those stocks also increased. You know, I mean, again, so it also, if you want to escape from America to Japan, it's now even more affordable to come here. You know, I don't know how that works, but yeah, everybody's realizing you have to keep your money in America now.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
again, I
No,
mean, sure,
it has
things will get
helped.
more expensive. But it'll
Mm,
be inflationary. There'll be constant. There'll be negative downsides to it.
mm,
But the fundamental thing, yeah, I think he's going to try to do it.
mm.
You know, and
Yeah, my crypto went up too. Yeah. Do you have any
crypto went
crypto
up
or?
too.
Yeah.
I do not have crypto, and
Uh,
I feel like an idiot for it, but
mm,
I don't. I don't. I don't need to sell drugs on the dark web, so I've never really gotten into it. But
mm.
people who got into it have done very well off it, and I respect that.
Yeah, my crypto went up. My stocks went up. My dad's stocks went up. My dad is
Mm.
very much against Trump, and he said he thinks that America, and he's an immigrant. He thinks that Americans, he said, basically Americans prefer to have money rather than social justice. You know, they don't
Funny
care about.
rather than social justice, yeah.
Yeah, then yeah, yeah. I mean,
Well, there is a
Trump is
dumbification definitely happening. I mean,
right, and my father's wealthy. He doesn't, he doesn't need this at all. He doesn't
yeah.
care. But he goes, but your mom's. He goes, your mom's happy because all my stocks are went up again. So,
Believe in
D is
yourself.
talking
Crypto
about
paid for
GameStop.
car and insurance. I believe you. No, I feel like I missed. By the way, I feel like I missed the boat on crypto, honestly, and maybe I should be getting it now.
Hmm,
But also, I don't really have any practical purpose for it. I mean, it's literally just an investment, right? But a very good investment, no question.
hmm.
Clearly, you know,
Just
provided you're not
yeah,
on a scam coin. Yeah.
hmm.
I watch
Yeah, yeah.
CoffeeZilla, by the way. I love CoffeeZilla.
Oh, CoffeeZilla is great. Yeah, I
He's
like him a
great,
lot.
but he also makes me terrified of that as well.
Mm.
Mm.
He's after the Tate. What's the guy?
Of the
Tate,
Tate
Andrew Tate,
brothers.
the Tate
Yeah,
brothers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who've also
What's
done well
going?
from the whole, you know, identity politics thing. They've made their whole fortune off that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Those are other scam artists, but
Yeah.
GameStop AMC is a lot of these basket swaps are going to explode in the weeks to come. I don't know anything about that. I know people who've made a lot of money in GameStop, but I never did. Never,
Yeah.
never thought of that.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, all that stuff. You know, there's definitely there are upsides. This is a popular thing that happens. It's
um,
popular with a lot of people. It's,
I
you
have to
know,
call us out.
mm,
I have to call us out about something. So I support having some immigration. I'm against the mass deportation thing he's going to do. I think it's
yeah,
ridiculous because I was an immigrant as well,
yeah.
and actually like 20% of Americans are immigrants. Maybe not that high, maybe 15% now, but you know what's hypocritical of that is that I would not support that in Japan if we suddenly
Well,
had 20% immigrants in Japan. I don't think there's
America's
any way Japan would deal with it.
America's complicated. The in principle, no country has an open border, you know, or at least
Mm,
no country with a functioning legal system has an open
mm,
border, right? Every country has rules, and I accept if I want to go anywhere in the world, I have to follow the rules. I went to America to work for 6 months, legit job, everything. Wasn't taking a job of anyone else. Um, the process of getting the visa and going there was an incredible pain, and I know how for other immigrants how they go through so much to be able to go there, and you know, and they're sure, I accept that if I go to any country and I break the
mm,
immigration laws, then I'm subject, then I shouldn't be entitled to a free pass from
mm.
the
Right.
consequences of that, right? Including Japan. I know that if I commit certain types of crimes in Japan, I could still be deported, you know, even
Mm.
as a permanent resident. And that's my incentive to be law abiding, right?
It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough to be. I've talked to police officers about this. They said if you were married and have kids here, even if
Yeah,
you commit
they'll put you
crimes,
in.
they put you in
Yeah,
jail and they let you out of jail and you're not necessarily deported.
that's normally it. It actually
Yeah.
is for a permanent
Yeah.
resident.
Yeah.
But for lesser things, that you know, often they just won't be bothered with you and they'll take you out to the
Yeah.
airport. You
Yeah.
know.
So you and I
Um,
are safe. We can go ahead and do
We're relatively.
that.
We'd have to do something pretty bad. But you know, in Japan, pretty bad could include like a single joint of marijuana or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
Honestly, I
definitely.
mean, for that you'd probably go to jail. But they treat that as very serious, right?
It's very serious. It's as bad as cocaine and heroin. Yeah.
But yeah, so of course America has this problem in a way that for a long time, one, it didn't have an immigration policy until like the 30s, and so most of America that came in before that, there was no organized immigration at all. You just bought a boat ticket and showed up in New York and registered, and
Mm.
and they didn't start introducing immigration until later. And even when they introduced it in those southern states that rely on seasonal like farm laborers and stuff like that, like that was the even today that still is the modern US economy. Like there's a large part of California and Texas and Arizona that relies on some flexibility and some grayness around the border there, right? So that's
Mm.
why they don't, there is kind of a and frankly, all these people as well who have like home helpers and all these people
Yeah,
who
yeah.
construction day workers and stuff like that. It's the same problem in Japan. All of these small farms that like can't compete anymore, and they don't, and there are no young people to work on the farm, so they have this intern scheme. I mean, that's the role that these undocumented workers do in America. And if you take all those people out of the economy, that's gonna have consequences for the economy as well. So America has kind of always had this kind of they deport some people. There is a system there, but they also kind of go along with it. So sure, all of a sudden rounding up every single person, one that's going to cause disruptions
Oh.
that America
And it's
structurally is
going to be
allowed for.
expensive as hell.
It's going to be expensive. But the other problem is you also look at how the American federal government, how competent it is at almost anything. And you imagine doing this to the lives of millions of people. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to break up families, not on purpose. And there are going to be assholes in the mix who will do it on purpose. There are going to be people who report on their neighbors. There'll be cases where someone is a legal immigrant, but they make a mistake,
Right.
and they're going to be put into camps.
One of my
Like,
teachers at my school,
mm,
uh, his name is Victor, also just by chance, and
yeah,
he has a Hispanic last name. It's a very
yeah,
common Hispanic last name,
yeah,
and and he has a cousin who
mm,
happens to have the same name, but his
yeah.
cousin is a criminal, has been in
Oh,
jail,
geez, that
and
sucks. Yeah,
every time he flies, he says every time he flies, they pull him out, and it
yeah.
takes him like 30. He knows to go to the
To
airport
prove he's
2 hours
not
ahead of
his
time.
cousin. Yeah,
Yeah, because they think it might be him. So I mean,
yeah.
they mix it up all the time. It's never stopped him from going anywhere. But I can easily imagine how one day he doesn't get back
So
because
imagine putting that into a chaotic
right,
mass deportation into camps, like how that works. I mean, and just the whole principle that this happened with Japanese people, right? In World War II, and how that worked, and how they had
right.
multiple generations of American citizens wrapped up
Mm.
in all of that. Um, you know, so I don't have any faith that it can be done properly. And at the end of the day, there are laws and enforcement mechanisms. Sure, being tougher on it and cracking down, but stating specifically that you're going to use the Enemy Aliens Act
Mm.
and that you're
Good.
going to build like deportation camps.
Mm.
That's kind of some next level shit. And I think he's going to try and do it. And I think he's going to surround himself with people that will help him do it.
Well,
And fact is,
what?
outside of Washington D.C., most Americans heard all that and said that sounds good, right? So he's got
Yeah,
the help.
most Americans support it, but when you ask them to how they're going to do it, like they have no idea. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you
Trump
know
will take
what?
care of it.
But here's the thing. I think most people will be squeamish about the details, but there are people
Yeah,
who are not squeamish about the details who will want to help. And that's the scary part.
yeah. Well, I heard he's going to have to hire like eight hundred
You better
thousand
do it. Yeah.
He's going to have to hire 800,000 agents to help with that. So it's going to create a lot of jobs, government. I was even thinking I could go back to America and
From America's
work
finest.
work
I mean, who
temporarily.
who who volunteers to be a concentrate? Literally, I mean, these are literally the definition of concentration camp.
Yeah.
Nazis, because we found out after the fact that in the concentration camps they were killing people. So now there's association of death camp. But
Mm.
Brits had concentration camps. British used them for interning Germans during World War II. They used them in South Africa in wartime. This idea of just taking a big group of
British
people.
did too. I didn't know that.
British invented concentration camps.
Oh
They used
well.
them in South Africa during the Boer War. The term concentration camp
Mm.
was first invented and used by the British, and it was used by lots of countries. And it was the idea that getting a big group of people and concentrating them in camps,
Mm.
that's what they were. And America called them concentration camps at the start of the whole thing. Again, because the German concentration camps turned out to be these horror murder camps, the term became kind of taboo. But
Mm.
by the original and correct meaning of the term, these are camps for concentrating this category of people. And these are literally, you can have 800,000 people who are volunteering to staff those camps. Can you imagine? I mean, like I say, that's a dark, that's beyond the Back to the Future 2 dark timeline dark.
Mm.
Um,
So someone asks, since there aren't going to be any wars, so can't they just use the soldiers? You see this commentary?
Yeah, I have opinions on that.
But I think there are some laws. Where's that comment? There
So
it is.
my dad was a military colonel,
Yeah.
and he'd talk to me sometimes. He didn't talk to me a lot, but I remember growing up. I remember whenever he'd have a conversation about something like this when he was leveling with me,
Mm,
um, even though I was a kid and I was being treated like an adult. And
mm,
as someone who trained officers in New Zealand and in other countries, you know,
mm,
they do these exchanges. It's kind of a principle of a military that you don't use military, like the job of military at its most basic level, they are the people that when you give them an order to murder somebody, they do
right.
it, right? That's their
Right.
job. Their
Right.
job is not to direct traffic or to
Yeah.
go and arrest
Yeah.
people and hold them. Their job
What
is to kill
Jason just
people.
said is my impression too. You can't use
Yeah.
them for domestic purposes. Yeah.
But the reason is that. So, and this is
Well, I'm
why
sorry.
this taboo,
What is the reason?
well, so the taboo against using military are literally a force that a government uses for violence for defending the state, like
Mm,
against external states.
external.
So
Okay.
when you need to kill people, as
Mm,
much as we try to say, well, look, they can offer civil defense relief, they can help out when there's a hurricane, and do all this
mm,
sort of stuff because they're good at logistics, and people try to soften it. But the fundamental principle is that you use police to arrest people, and you use soldiers to kill people. And soldiers are not trained to arrest people. And it's a huge taboo in any democracy to use troops. So my dad is from Fiji,
mhm.
and my dad went to officer cadet school with a guy called Steve Rambuka, who is also from Fiji, like my dad, who did 4 military coups in Fiji. He took over the government there.
Your
And when my
dad?
dad was telling me about this, no, my dad's friend,
Oh,
a guy
not
who
oh
used to come
Steve.
to
Oh,
family
Steve.
barbecues.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Steve, Steve
Steve.
Rambuka. He 4
He's in
military coups
Minecraft. He's
in
a
Fiji.
Minecraft character. Yes.
Yeah, well, Sitivini is his name, but I grew up around a guy who later on overthrew a country, overthrew a civilian government. When my dad was talking to me, he was like, he can't believe that a guy who went to officer cadet training school in a democratic country would go back and overthrow a civilian government because we're all indoctrinated into how taboo that is. The idea of getting involved in anything civilian, in the domestic politics or, pointing guns at anyone in your own country is so
Mm.
taboo in any Western military, and these are trained by U.S. military advisors and so on.
Oh.
So it's it really disturbed my dad that a guy who was a friend of my dad's, they trained his officers together. That his classmate went and overtook the country 4 times. So I grew up with that. So I grew up understanding that it's like the worst thing, and those people with guns, those people who are trained, given military training, they don't know anything other than to point guns and shoot. That's their job, right? So
Mm,
using those resources to go and round up illegal aliens, um, that's not no. You should have a civilian agency for that,
mm. Right.
fundamentally. And
Right.
there are
I
laws
agree.
and there are reasons for that, for having that line, and crossing that. That's when you become, a Central American dictatorship. Honestly,
Mm.
that's when you
Banana
start
Republic.
thinking
Right.
that's what happens. Yeah,
We better start wrapping this up now. But
yeah.
there's a kind of crazy comment here. How about this
Mm.
one? What would you guys do with the Q conspiracy theory stuff if they
Became
became
true.
true? Well, you think John
I'd
F.
get on
Kennedy
my
is alive
UFO.
and he's going to come back and become the vice president? I mean, come on. That's how crazy that stuff is.
I don't know. I'd ask Marilyn
And
Monroe on a date. I don't know
eh,
what else.
eating babies, that stuff's just not true. I mean,
I would ask that they point the space laser at, and I would give them a whole bunch of
yeah.
coordinates to point the laser at.
If they were true, what would be, what would you
I mean,
guys
other
do
than the
with?
fact,
I
you
would,
know,
my jaw would hit the ground. I just
I
can't
don't
believe
know.
any of that stuff's true.
That's like a dark version of saying, if what if the plot of Happy Days was real life? I mean, it's a fictional piece of bullshit. Who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
saying, what if the X Files was true?
yeah.
Uh, you know, um, the fact that all these people who like enjoyed Trump's speeches at pro wrestling matches, and
Mm,
that he's a character in that, and they think, wouldn't it be cool if that stuff became real and let's all participate in
mm,
it? It's kind of like a weird kind of mass participatory thing, right? And it's
mm.
worked. It's wonderful that people feel that kind of thing through that. But
Let's see this. Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah, that stuff's not true. Someone's asked me about the T-shirt. Jason's asked me about the T-shirt. So
Yeah, no, Breaking
a lot
Bad,
of
but it
folks.
looks like Two and a Half Voyages, and I kind of like that. I feel like we should make a version of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
what if
yeah,
Star
maybe.
Trek was true? I mean, I think that, but Q
Ooh,
like
ooh.
in Star Trek.
Oh no, disconnect. Oh, that's my phone.
Yeah, let's switch to a different
There we go.
camera.
There we go.
Thank heavens that wasn't aimed at your crotch. Uh, can we see all your passwords now? Wow, we're coming through on the technical issues today. Believe in yourself. GameStop was all about Redditors giving Wall Street a black eye. And I think there's a dimension of that happening here. A lot of people feel like they're defeating Washington. Victor, you're on mute. We've lost your sound. Check your audio settings.
Okay, it was me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments here we should talk about? Eric Bailey, 60% of Latin American children who set out to cross the border alone or smugglers have been caught by the cartels and are being trafficked. Yeah, I don't know where those.
Highlight the comment. I don't. I
this one. Yeah, this one.
Hmm.
I don't. I don't. I think if you're living in a city like New York City where they're overrun by immigrants, I can understand being upset about this. I don't know how much of that is true though. I don't know if that's just propaganda or what. It's hard to tell now. Thanks to Trump, we don't trust our news sources anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
By the way, I've got Republican friends, I think I mentioned at the start that I talked to about this. And another thing that they pointed out was where liberals would sort of make the cause that, we should be welcoming and looking after people across the border. And so all the border states, Florida and Texas, started putting all the immigrants on buses and shipping them to Portland, Seattle, and New York, right? And now New York has they're kind of overwhelmed. They can't. They don't have the resources to take care of all of them, which was the problem that the border states had. And my friend was pointing out these liberals, when they're confronted with the consequences of their ideology, like in their faces like that, they lose their nerve, and he thinks that's part of what's happened here. People aren't so enthusiastic to vote on not deporting people when they don't know what to do with these people who are on their doorsteps now in shanty towns that are developing in these cities.
I don't think any Florida city ever suffered as much as New York City because you imported them all into one city, but in Florida they were all spread out. Texas all spread out. So
yeah, but the governors there going around and putting them all on buses and moving them out really quickly as well. It was cynical and honestly kind of an abuse of the people there. But at the same time, he was kind of making a legitimate point that New York was saying you should take care of it, and they're saying, well, if you want to take care of it, you take care of it. And New York totally couldn't take care of it, right? So
right, yeah,
it's kind of messing with people is a hard way to do it, but yeah.
I think I accidentally put someone. Yeah, how do I stop that? I accidentally banned someone. I clicked something.
You accidentally, man. Technical issues. First, you point a camera at your crotch, and then you ban someone.
Who was it? Could you tell who I banned? Do we know?
Matty was banned, and their comments were removed.
There we go, Matty. How do I unban Matty?
Matty got deported.
Oh
Bring
shit!
back Matty.
Sorry, Matty. I didn't do it on purpose.
You're like the Trump.
No, I was trying to highlight. The comment, but how do I
turn up my volume?
Is there a way to unban somebody?
Can you undeport somebody? There's a question. A lot of people are probably Googling right now.
Sorry, Matty. Maybe I can go to another Matty comment and unban them that way. I'll look for another one.
I hope they're not permanently banned on your channel.
I hope not. It was an accident.
Click on it, and there's an option to undo. Says Aaron.
Oh, does it? Oh, really? I don't see it.
Aaron's an awesome moderator, by the way. You should make her a moderator. She can.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't deport your deportees.
Oh, I know how to do it. If I got to go to the original.
I think you got to go to YouTube, right? Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I'll unban. But there was a question. Shit, I had a question for you.
Maddie had a comment so good that Victor banned him, and now he can't remember.
No, it was an unrelated comment about. God damn it! What was it? Immigration. Where is it? Where is Maddie? Well,
it's like an immigrant with a really good idea for America, and you just deported him before you could find out what it was.
Go to channel, remove, add as moderator. Go to channel. It says channel activity, pin message report, remove, put user in timeout, hide. But there's no channel. Yeah, sorry, Maddie.
King of Kanto, do we support birthright citizenship?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Japan doesn't have it, of course.
Yeah, a lot of countries don't have it.
The United Nations has a thing where they don't say you have to have birthright citizenship. A lot of countries don't, but they do say that you should have measures in place to make sure people are not stateless. So there's a thing in Japan that there's a lot of people like North Koreans born in Japan who for a long time didn't have a passport and couldn't travel anywhere. And not being on any state can lead to human rights issues. So you should have a mechanism to give people like a kind of a quasi passport or status if they don't have any citizenship. But I think so long as you're covered and you've got a citizenship, you don't have to have citizenship as a birthright. But King of Kanto, I was guessing you wouldn't support it. You want to join the chat, but I think we're wrapping up here. And yeah.
He's a big Trump supporter, by the way.
Yeah,
but a very
well,
but a very nice guy.
Congratulations too. Yeah,
but a very nice guy. Congrats,
I think he's got like a podcast, right? He actually makes videos.
Used to.
Yeah,
I think they pretty much stopped. Yeah, I apologize to Maddie. I'm trying to figure out. I couldn't undo you. So
once someone's deported, I think that he's like a child lost in the deportation system. So
Maddie, I apologize. I'll try to figure that out later. But it's good to talk to everyone. I would say that if this election really upsets you, then you really need to take a look at who you are and how you define yourself, because I don't think you should be defined by any political party that you support.
I think it's a symptom of your identity politics being out of control. If you attach your identity so much to this that it's devastating to you, like emotionally. But look, let's not be flippant either. Women, it's mostly women that I see reacting like this, but women are being told in a number of states that they can't get abortions ever now, right? Like they're having, to a lot of people, that's like going to lead to medical emergencies not being treated because doctors are afraid to give emergency abortions, which can lead to deaths of women, right? And that's specifically women. So people, while it sounds hysterical saying people are going to die, there is a scenario there that some people legitimately, I still think too much, but still there's a legitimate fear associated with that. So there are people who have reasons for it. But if you just think that the world is coming to an end because the bad people are in charge, and look, I don't entirely disagree with that statement, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I think you've got to, and you have to acknowledge this is what America is. And, Oh, and the one consolation I said on Twitter the other day, this is not the most stupid thing anyone ever voted for. It's close, but it's not the most. The British voting to leave the European Union, thinking that they're doing something clever, that's as stupid as you get. That's literally voting to take away your own right to go and have holidays in Europe and to get cheap stuff and all the benefits of being in the EU. The fact that Britain collectively voted a majority to punch themselves in the face like that is still the stupidest democratic thing ever in the history of the world, and voting for Trump doesn't beat that. So America, you have to try harder.
We'll get there. We'll get there someday. Well, it's going to be an interesting 4 years. We'll see what happens.
That it is going to be. I almost don't give a shit. Atomic Tom, I'm very worried for Ukraine.
I think. Oh yeah. Ukraine's screwed. I'm thinking they're going to force Ukraine to just give up land and stop the war that way. But
I think that's what's in mind. We'll see what happens. I think that's wrong. But you talk about the deep state, the military-industrial complex. Yeah, they've made they've done well for America's economy of supplying weapons to defend Ukraine. And if all that stops, it's bad for the economy. Americans aren't dying there, but it's also bad for Ukraine. Who's the country being invaded? King of Kanto emphasizing that they think Brexit was great.
I can't understand anyone who agrees with that right now, but that's fine. Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens. But I agree, there's a lot to worry about, but at the same time, it's locked in. America is unanimous, popular vote across the board, all the houses. Everything he wants to do, he can do. No one can stop him.
Yeah.
He's going to probably appoint more Supreme Court justices. The
effect will be felt for decades. For decades. Yeah. So he changed America. Yeah.
He has.
By the way, our next.
By the way, I'm not angry at Trump. I'm not angry at Trump. I always said if you put a Labrador in a car and the Labrador crashes the car, you don't get angry at the dog. You get angry at the person that put the dog in the driver's seat of the car and let it drive. Yeah. And if the dog does crash the car, and you tell off the dog, don't let the dog drive another car. Which has just happened again. It's just happened twice. Trump is completely transparent about who he is. This is America. America, you own this. Although we own it as well, even though we didn't get to vote because we have to suffer the consequences. But thank you for that. But we're locked in. It is the reality, and we just got to get used to it. Sorry, you were going to say the next 2.5 Oyajis.
Yeah, it will probably be September. I mean December 14th, maybe, but we're not
So
sure
say
for sure.
September's a bit far off.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
December. Yeah. On
Maybe
December
early
7th,
December.
I'm going on a big on a hike with a bunch of Europeans. We're gonna bring bottles of whiskey and hike around a mountain, and that'll be the 7th. So I'm pretty sure I'll be dead on that day. So
Yeah, that's. I was gonna say that sounds dangerous in December in multiple
it's a
ways.
yearly
But
it's a yearly event where everyone grabs a bottle of a specific whiskey. This year it's Speyside whiskey. It's a type of whiskey.
yeah,
And we're gonna walk around and stop and pour a little bit.
remember they're Europeans, so if there's a bear, they definitely won't know how to shoot it. Unless, not true actually. If they're from Switzerland, they definitely know how to shoot it. But
Swiss, yeah. They're mostly from Ireland, I think, but in Canada, but which is not
I'm
exactly
surprised.
European, but
Now I'm worried if you're gonna make it to the mountain. But yeah, that
I'm
sounds
sure it's
like a
not a
lot of
great.
fun.
I'm sure there's quite a bit of whiskey involved, so I'm sure it's not a very formidable mountain. It'll probably be something more like that, but
Possibly just a car park.
it could be. It could be just walking around the shopping mall, but
Yeah. Okay.
anyway.
So mid-December, we'll have a pre-Christmas show, I
Yeah,
guess.
we'll let you know. It'll be on Hiko's channel. But thanks to everyone
My team
for
next.
stopping by. Sorry for those of you who were upset about our lack of enthusiasm either way. But I know you really wanted to see some liberal tears. But yeah, luckily my life is. I was upset, but I went out with a friend who came from Germany a couple days
Yeah.
ago. He just came to Japan, came to visit, and we went out and had a great time and didn't talk politics at all. Yeah.
I think this is telling us to like just stop investing so much in all this
Mm,
stuff. Yeah, I think it's basically at this point now, the hype in the media is just so
mm,
insane. It's
mm.
literally mental illness to care too much
Yeah.
about this stuff,
But
even
at
though
the
it does
same
have
time,
consequences.
if you're super interested in this topic, I'm just gonna not be interested in talking with you. I don't care that much.
Yeah, I'm glad
There are
we
other
did
things
this
to
though,
talk about.
because
Yeah.
I make a rule of not talking about American politics, and so it's
Mm.
nice to get it out of my system, my thoughts,
Well, you
and to
know quite a bit.
basically,
I'm impressed.
well, I read a lot about it, but at the same
Mm,
time, I like to stick to Japan stuff because honestly, I'm not in America. I mean, we all have
mm,
to deal with America. You know, America
mm.
impacts Japan. It impacts
Yes,
everybody. And we will talk
yes,
about that. But, you know, in the end
yes.
of the day, I've got no say over it. And it's up to Americans to decide. And Americans did. Their
Yeah,
Americans
and they did.
were clear.
They did.
So, you know,
They
they
make
did.
they make it very clear that the America I grew up in is not the America it is now. And I haven't been there for 33 years, really.
Oh, and I tell you what, and my ability to talk about New Zealand's politics is absolutely zero. And you
Oh,
know what?
really?
I just look back and see it still looks boring, and I'm happy. And you know, boring is a pretty high standard nowadays that not many countries achieve. Uh, and
Are
I
your
don't care.
taxes as high as they say? I hear your taxes in New Zealand are crazy.
If you leave the country for more than 370 days, you don't have to pay taxes there anymore.
Oh, okay.
We're not like America. America taxes you forever. They chase you to
Forever. Yeah.
Antarctica, but New Zealand just recognizes
Well,
that we're not going to
you have
pay
to make
anyway
a
if we
certain
leave.
amount, but yeah.
Yeah.
Which lucky, I
So
guess I don't. So.
I mean, I think New Zealand taxes have always been high. I mean, when I was a kid, New Zealand was full on socialist. Income taxes used to be over 60% when I was a kid in the early
Wow.
80s. And then,
Wow.
you know, we halved it to like 30%. And we were one of the first countries to use the sales tax and prove that that worked.
Oh,
So,
wow.
you know, but taxes overall, I think, are higher in New Zealand, certainly by American standards. Americans complain about tax, but Americans hardly pay any tax. And this is why public services are so shitty in America, honestly. Like you go over to Canada where they pay a bit more tax, but the cities are nicer. You know,
Mm, mm,
yeah. So it depends on what you're comparing to, but I think New Zealand has relatively high, not as high as like Norway or Sweden or anything like that, but yeah, we have high taxes in New Zealand.
mm,
But everyone's happy to pay it because we like having medical care and
mm.
roads that work and
All
public
right.
services. So, you know, that's
Yeah, America's infrastructure is about to fall apart. If you listen to
it
John
is falling
Oliver.
apart. I mean, going between Seattle and Vancouver and seeing the difference, like Seattle's so much richer than Vancouver and it's so much shittier, baffled me when I was over in America.
Oh,
So,
wow. Huh.
yeah,
Never been to Vancouver. I'll check it out.
it's a nice place.
Well, I gotta get up early tomorrow.
Yep.
Taking the kids out, but good to see you,
I got
man.
to keep working. Good to see you. Good to
Oh,
talk,
that's
man.
right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Uh,
I'll think about what we can do with this in the future, but Not my
suggestive
nipples.
hand motions.
Not my nipples. But
Think what we can do
the
about this.
t-shirt. The
The
t-shirt.
shirt is actually, yeah, that is us.
It
Like,
was
as I
a
look at
gift
it.
from I'm ashamed to say I can't remember who, but one of the people who watches our show gave it to me.
Yeah,
Send it. It was a mail.
that's
It came
awesome.
in the mail. It came in the mail. So
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you very much,
Well,
everyone. Thanks for watching,
congrats
guys.
and commiserations. Good, thanks for joining us.
And Maddie,
See
I
you soon.
apologize again for banning you.
Yeah,
Take
Maddie,
care.
wherever you are, back in your home country.
I'll try to fix that soon. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks
See
for
ya.
watching.
Bye.
And stream. Oh, there we go. See ya.